people have spines for putting out Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I led with a negative comment there, and I asked that we don't just totally trash the show. It's funny what people will back up, because I think that Ewan McGregor has done a great job with his portrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think he's really pulling the weight of that show. But there's many aspects. Like the first episode, it felt like Star Wars in many aspects, and I was really happy about that. But then you have Inquisitor Reva jump in, and I just like the immersions broke. I just thought, like, it's unfortunate that this one person is dragging down the entire show, like literally the entire show.
No, the three best parts of the series were the fifth brother, Obi-Wan, and Owen Lars. Those were the three best parts.
I think it's just Shag's inherent, likely racist reaction from the worst corner of Star Wars fans, unquote.
Like, this is not disparaging her as an actress. Like, she might be great at something.
No, okay, no, stop. Stop right there. Is she good in the show? Because I haven't watched it because I'm done. Okay, then she's not a good actress.
Oh, but this might just. She's not a Sith, man. Like when I watch this, you know what this looks like? This looks like some angry person that, they didn't get what they wanted. They happen to be a Force user.
Not angry, angsty. She's not even angry. She's angsty.
Yeah, man. Like
nobody understands me.
Is anybody else in the show really doing a good job of pulling off their role? Other than
I think so. I think Owen Lars does great.
Okay,
the guy who does Owen Lars.
Okay, so you can't blame the writing. So it's got to be what? If everybody around her is doing a good job, then whose fault is it? Is it so clearly? Then now it's not just the fans that are racist. Now the writers are racist because they wrote her poorly, but they did a good job for all of the other people. Well, you see what I mean? Where does it end? Like eventually, you just have to look at her and go, "Honey, you're not good."
I almost feel like we need to go through the first episode and then the second one before we jump to the full meal of what the hell is wrong with this.
But yeah, and that's we can do that, because again, the first episode, it opens with a big recap of like Obi-Wan's story and Anakin's story and all that.
And that was honestly terrible. That was like, the clips were good. The music was terrible, and it was done in the most syndicated TV recap way that it hurt me. To turn the prequels, which weren't great, but I liked them, but they literally turned it into a TV show recap, like on the CW or ABC or NBC. Like, it was painful.
Previously on CW Star Wars.
It wasn't even that. It was like this low key, like the music got better, luckily, in the series, but it was. And I was like, oh my God, like I remember these things. I love these movies. The music was terrible. And I was just like, oh, it feels like every other TV show recap from cinematic movies. What the hell's going on?
Well, and that's the thing, is like the show. Like, I don't know, that part didn't bother me all that much. Whatever. That, again, this is for the normies. It's not for us, obviously. So the tone of the first episode, again, was Star Wars. I felt like I was in the Star Wars world. I unlike a lot of people, don't necessarily care that Obi-Wan is like sort of in his like exile, watching over Luke and kind of depressed. The dude had a rough run for sure. Like I get it.
Well,
like,
no,
I
he
think,
should be there.
Well, no, I just think, it's essentially where he ends up anyway in A New Hope. Like, so, he's a little bit wiser at that point, but like I don't have a problem with it. It's just like, there's some weird, my issues with the first episode were like when there's a couple points where we flash to Leia, and the music during those periods doesn't feel like Star Wars. It does. Like, I think, did John Williams do the music for this? He did Duel of Fates again, but
no, they repurposed, I think, some of his older stuff, and he did something at Celebration, but I don't think he was the composer on this show at all.
Okay, because like the music while her scenes were happening just did not seem, it like was all of a sudden this weird kind of fun, like uppity. It almost seemed too much. Like they could have taken the music out and it would have probably had a more gravitas. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like it would have had more, like it would have felt more real.
Well, I think they should have had an alt if they wanted to go this path. And again, I'm biased because I read the Kenobi book back when that was canon. If they wanted to handle the Organas and Leia, I think they should have had a separate show. Like the actress, like it was cute seeing young Leia, even though I have a ton of problems with how they portrayed her. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever with her character.
It doesn't make any sense within continuity.
It
because
doesn't.
in A New Hope, the message is, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. So if there is any interaction between Bail Organa and Obi-Wan prior to them having their last meeting, that discussion makes no sense. If he goes and helps him with anything, it negates the point, because then why wouldn't Leia said, hey, remember when I was a kid and you came and helped me? Or remember when Dad called you and you didn't answer? Well, I need your help now. That's why I'm coming in person.
No, it was handled moderately cleverly in this, because she was, and again, spoilers for anyone who's listening. She was kidnapped by Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
That's an important detail.
Yeah, well, it is, but it's Flea. He was from Back to the Future fame. But because
did he give it away now?
He did. He also got high on spice, so we finally got to see somebody on spice. But no, Reva is established pretty early on for unknown reasons. She's the third sister. I don't know what her number is in the Inquisitors. That she has a weird vendetta against Obi-Wan, and she's not even necessarily angry. She's violent and angsty. But she's got a vendetta against Obi-Wan, and she wanted to drag him out. And she through the archives discovers that Bail Organa and Obi-Wan had a relationship, and she's the only one who's convinced Obi-Wan is still alive. So she has Leia kidnapped by bounty hunters to lure him out. And like Bail only so far has contacted him twice. Him and his wife contact through like a hologram, and then he shows up in his like hermit bachelor cave. Those are the only interactions, and when he meets her, he only like refers to himself once as Ben. So I'm like, it doesn't necessarily break canon necessarily, because it doesn't
keep defending the dribble.
I'm not defending, asshole. I'm
but
just
even
saying.
before that, Nick, they lost me, because so again, his self-imposed exile essentially is fine. I'm okay with that. He plays the part well in the beginning, but then so he is essentially like trying not to take part in any sort of like force use. He's ignoring another Jedi who tracks him down, and then in the next scene, he meets Owen in the market, or he drops off a toy for Luke in the middle of the night, leaves and meets up with another. Hold on, let me finish. Meets up with a Jedi who's being tracked down by the Inquisitors. He basically is like ignoring him. He's like, who are you talking about? I'm not Obi-Wan. My name's Ben. Don't, go somewhere else. Live your life. Go bury that in the desert somewhere. His lightsaber. And then in the next scene, he's talking with Owen Owen brings the toy back to his garage where he keeps his desert camel. And he's like, don't come near me. Like, don't bring that over here. Don't bring that toy to him. You know what you're doing. And he's like, well, when the boy comes of age, he must be trained. And it's like, dude, like 30 seconds ago, you were saying, forget about the Force, forget about the Jedi are done. We're dead. We lost a fight. But wait, you're going to train him? And where did this come from all of a sudden? Like, there's weird continuity stuff like that I was like, wait a minute. 30 seconds ago.
Another continuity problem with that is Anakin was like 9 years old when they brought him into the Jedi Order, and even Obi-Wan was having a hissy fit about it because he was too old.
Or he was too old then.
And now he wants to train a 10-year-old.
Yeah. Or, you know, when the time comes.
No, he doesn't want to train him yet. Well, there's a lot of things.
He says he wants to train him.
Well, he says that. And there's a lot of issues. Like one, I remember there's a few notes because the first episode I took a shitload of notes. Second one I kind of checked out. It's a series I would probably give like a 4 or 5. Like there were good points that I liked. Like Ewan McGregor did great. Some of the stuff, especially if you've watched the cartoons and other things, it was fun. Having the weird beginning intro was they introduced the Inquisitors right away. Like like again, like you said earlier, like, well, this is a show for normies. I'm like, no, it's not. They give you a recap of the previous movies, and the Inquisitors just show up. You're like, who are they? What are they doing? What's going on?
Right.
And like the 3 of them show up, and I'm like, wow, we should have spent the first episode with just Obi-Wan in this world, and then had them talk about what was going on and what his motivations were. It breaks canon even with the Disney lore, with Rebels and other stuff, with his message of hope, as you said, being hopeless at this point, like his weird capitalist job that they make a weird point of showcasing, that they're decreasing the pay and he's just going to work back and forth. I'm like, this is a Jedi and a general who spent 10 years on this planet, and he works at some kind of assembly factory making no money, isn't self-sufficient, lives in a cave. The toy was a fun bit because they brought in a Jawa, which was fun to see them because they are part of the ecosphere. And they had to, of course, do the Disney jokey bit about like he smells. But that ship was actually something Luke has in episode 4. So I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool nod of how he gets the ship. There's one where he 3PO's getting like cleaned and he's hanging around.
Yeah. I did remember that, and that was an interesting nod. But like, it's just hard to forgive some of these like weird.
But the thing is they follow some things where it feels like Star Wars, and then it suddenly veers. Like he used like a weird military shovel trowel that
Veers was in Empire Strikes Back.
It is General Veers. I'll fight you. So yeah, like they had, or veered. Is that better? Veered. They had, like, again, it's a show that sometimes you feel like there's somebody in the writer's room who keeps them on path with how it's supposed to be, and then it flies way off, and it gets into the weeds with things, and you're just like, what the hell are they doing in this show?
And yeah, one of the things I thought was interesting too was like, even so, her reckless nature was, you know, it was interesting. Like, first of all, she's like her like makeup and her hair, like I don't have any problem. It looks fine. But like,
no, she stands out
the
though.
Part.
All the Inquisitors are strange looking, and she is not strange looking. And you're like,
she is the normie of the Inquisitors.
But like, it might fit in whatever backstory they have, like for her. Like I get the impression that she is one of the younglings who escapes in the very beginning of the show. Like they show like a Jedi defending these kids, and one of the kids is like a little black girl. So I have a feeling that's where they're going with it. And that this is going to be some conflict that she is going through. Again, it's like, I don't have a problem with him, like the Imperials having conflict or whatever in here, like, but this is an Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which they're going to turn into Inquisitor Reva show.
Reva show?
Well, yeah, and it's like, again, the story is that story will, I guess, is fine, but don't do it in, like, don't take over Obi-Wan's story to tell her story, because it so far it sucks. And like even the other Inquisitors are like these are people who are wielding the dark side, are like, oh, you're a bit reckless. It's like, wait, what? Like all of a sudden the dark side's like methodical. I thought it was an interesting like.
Well, no, if we're going to go into Reva, for one, Reva and Leia have as much, if not more, screen time than Obi-Wan in these 2 episodes. So that
Leia's fine. Leia's screen time is fine because there is a connection with them, and you know she
shouldn't be in it. She shouldn't.
I I don't disagree, but I'm saying like it makes more sense than like emo lady over here. Like,
Well,
but like, and that's the thing. So in the second episode, like, so at the end of the first episode, we have Obi-Wan that is leaving the planet at Bail's request to go find her. So again, it's like he's supposed to be this real, like both of them are experienced in war and tactics and everything, and they don't understand, like they don't even think that this might be a trap. He just gets on a freighter and goes. He goes to the planet, gets off the thing. First of all, why is she not just waiting on the ground to see him get off? I know there's like they disabled the trackers on that planet, but shouldn't she just been waiting with the Inquisitors for him to get off? But instead no one knows where they are.
Yeah, why not just have a firing squad right there at the dock, ready to shoot anyone that might look like an old Obi-Wan?
Right. Like what? I mean, or just you stop every person like they did it in A New Hope. They were stopping everything that went through, and and those were stormtroopers. But these Inquisitors couldn't figure out that, or they couldn't track the ship or any ship leaving. Like I don't get it, man.
Well, they went to Tatooine because they heard stories of somebody saving people, and the first scene was them showing up and harassing the locals, and then Reva throws the knife at the one guy and he stops it. That's when they get his picture. So they're not looking for Obi-Wan. Nobody is. They all think he's dead.
Well, she's looking for him, and she sets a trap.
She's the only one in the series who's looking for Obi-Wan.
She's doing so much stuff on her own and against orders. Like, how is she not? Like,
no.
Whatever resource she has to track what's going on in between the planets. Because if she thinks that he's there, and that's like
because she's ignored. They made I gotta find my notes on it. They make a reference to her being like some kind of gutter.
Yeah,
like she was powerful, but she was some kind of gutter trash, and that's the only reason why she's there. Which, for one, makes me laugh because the Empire was incredibly xenophobic. Like in the EU. And if you watch the movies, like there was never any aliens or anybody in
humans first.
They were. Well, again, they were supposed to be the ultimate fascists. Like they even got rid of the clones. There was no clones, it was just humans. And now all of a sudden the Inquisitors are mainly aliens. Like 3 of the 4 Inquisitors are all alien as hell. She's only one, but she's of course uber powerful, but she was gutter trash, so she's treated terribly. No one thinks Obi-Wan's alive, except for her. They're not tracking Obi-Wan to the planet, they're tracking a story.
Well, there is a good explanation for that, though. I mean, I thought it was like a semi-decent explanation. Like, because even the Inquisitors say, like, that's not your responsibility. He is going to find, like, that's his responsibility. And, they're obviously referring to Darth Vader. Like, so that made sense to me. Like, you better step off or homie's going to come, fuck shit up. And they, obviously are not, it's just, it was just a weird thing. And did anyone else notice how like the chase, like every scene that Leia's running away, like somehow no one can catch a 10-year-old
my god,
child?
I was watching that scene, it was driving me nuts.
It was
the first one.
Oh no, a twig out of my way. I'll go around it.
No, the first one was worse. You got 3 people who surround a 10-year-old, and then she's like, and then she runs, and they all stand there for 10 seconds, and then she gets away. You're like, what the hell?
Not even, though. They didn't even stand there for 10 seconds. She turned and ran. They ran after her. And what was so bad about it, and like this is like the one like bad acting part that I thought like, you could totally write this in a way that makes sense. But instead, like they take off after her immediately, maybe 1 or 2 seconds after. Not even, but she's 10-year-old. First of all, they're grown adults, but every time they came to an obstacle, it was like watching that guy in the background of a fight scene fight air, or like there was a scene in one movie where the guy's brushing and he's not even brushing the ground. Like that's the kind of acting that took place during that chase scene. And even when Obi-Wan's chasing her.
Oh no, they established it early. She's good at climbing trees, and her mom said it's like raising a boy. Like there are parts of the story that feel like it was written by a teenager in the 90s. It is ridiculous. And it does not fit Leia's character in the slightest. And even back to like Riva with some of her angsty stuff and like, why does she do this? Why does she do that? The end of episode 2, there's a line where I think she's talking to Obi-Wan, where I'm like, she should have been dead years ago. She said the name Anakin Skywalker in reference to Vader. Anyone at this point who knows that connection should be dead.
Yeah, no, Vader seeked out anyone who knew of his past and killed them.
Yeah, she should not be alive. Like when we got to that point, I was like, wow, how the hell does Riva know that Anakin is Vader? Like, there's a handful of people who maybe know this. I think from the Tarkin book, which was Disney canon, he suspected. Palpatine know, and Yoda and Obi-Wan heard, like, rise Lord Vader, go do yada yada yada. There's like maybe 3 or 4 people in the galaxy who knows that Anakin is Vader. Everyone else would have been exterminated. The fact that this impetuous young woman would know means she should be dead as shit.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous that she would know this.
It's really too bad because like the set pieces of this show look really good, except for the second episode, the planet they go to. I think that looks so incredibly low budget. The stormtroopers seem so far out of place. Like I understand the Inquisitors being there. The weird call out to Jango Fett and the clone, homeless clone, like that just seemed like a weird insert. It's just unfortunate because the first episode like really kind of pulls you in with the set pieces and the Star Wars feel. The second episode totally just it drowns every bit of that, and Ewan McGregor's doing fine. He's pulling the weight of the show, and he's his acting is really good for the most part. They're the Inquisitors are fine. They do their thing, but like every time that Riva is on screen and she's talking, I immediately don't care. I don't think of her as any sort of threat. Again, the toothless villain. She has the same power as Kylo Ren, and he can like search her thoughts. That seemed, of course, like, or he searched.
There was a lot of sequel trilogy references in this show, which made my soul hurt.
It was just she's ruining, and unfortunately, I have to say, like, she is ruining this show, like in every way possible, in my opinion.
Yeah, and by the end of the series, if the leaks I've read are true, she's going to be the quote unquote hero by the end of it.
And again, those story beats, those like that story is fine. It just should not be labeled as Star Wars. There's like, you can have that sort of progression, character progression, but like this is not, I don't know. This doesn't, unless they pull something way out of their ass with writing, like a seriously big twist. I do not see like how this is going to be any good.